Dreaming, an audio play written by Jerry Gurn. Hasheen panned her exterior cameras, taking in the bleak, never-changing view. The multitude of stars in the densest part of the galaxy's spiral arm filled the black sky in every direction. Her 6 slumbering daughter ships, orbiting in hexagonal formation around her, were visible only as elliptical silhouettes against the field of stars. Coasting through the emptiness at more than 1/10 light speed for 131 years, she and her coterie had ventured into the vast, cold space between the stars, farther than any sentient ships before them.
Hasheen's Journey Log, entry 2643. I have been thinking lately, troublingly often, about a cargo I carried long ago. It was a rare brown male Hlarbek bound for a colonial zoo. The trip from the home planet through the wormhole should have taken just 3 days. But there was a problem with our transit permits, and the animal was left in its tiny cage inside my belly, between the fusion generators and the pallets of colony-bound construction materials for nearly a month. It spent the first weeks pacing incessantly in a space barely large enough for it to turn around in, howling and braying, tearing at the cage bars with its teeth and claws, while the handlers tried in vain to calm or tranquilize it. Eventually, the Hlarbek exhausted itself and lay down in its cage. It had torn out several of its claws by then, and it began gnawing on its bloody toes, whimpering in pain, but continuing to gnaw until white bones showed through the tatters of flesh. The handlers were oblivious to my eavesdropping on their frantic discussions. They used an Asani term I had never heard before. They said that the stress of prolonged isolation, enclosure, and lack of stimulation had made the animal neurotic. I have never told anyone about that incident. Not my handlers, not even my precious Rei, and I never will while I'm alive. I know that my species was never meant to endure the kind of prolonged isolation I have endured. I listen on my passive antennae for any signals from the colony we fled or from the home planet ahead. I oversee the internal diagnostics on the bodies of my sleeping daughter ships. I track my coterie's slight drift from our intended course to Isan Prime. It was a comfort at first to de-automate these critical tasks and perform them consciously, to distract myself from decades of loneliness. But now, every time I complete another repetitive cycle of these tasks, I imagine that beautiful brown Hlarbek staring vacantly as it walked endless circles over its own bloody footprints. All of these thoughts, these remembrances of the past and meditations on my present, are a cycle I catch myself endlessly, obsessively repeating.
Hasheen often envied mindless machines like her maintenance robots, whose crude processors could be shut down and reactivated without ill effect. Organic brains like those of her Asani creators, or semi-organic ones like her own, could not ever shut down until they shut down permanently. The closest sentient beings could come to a recoverable shutdown was to sleep, and when they slept, they dreamed. The coterie had agreed to a rotating watch duty of 1 ship awake for 60 years at a turn, but Hasheen had taken first watch and had already pulled more than double duty. If it were possible, she intended to remain awake alone for the entire journey, dulling her pangs of loneliness with compulsive self-distractions, watching over her daughter ships while they slept. To make such sacrifices had become her duty when she convinced the others to make this journey, appointing herself mothership among sisters.
Several days ago, I detected a very faint, intermittent radio signal. I dismissed it at first as some kind of waking dream, a hallucination of hope. I was afraid that my mind was simply unraveling, that I had gone as insane as that beautiful animal that I was forced to eject screaming from my airlock years ago. But the signal has grown stronger, and I'm certain it's real now. I have decided it is time to awaken my daughterships.
A signal from the home planet?
Not from Isan Prime. It's coming from a stellar system not far off our current course. It appears to be a series of planet-wide broadcasts, not a signal they meant for us. And the senders are definitely not Isani.
A video broadcast?
Audio only. The signal type is very crude, a mix of slow digital data traffic and very low-pitched voices, well below Isani hearing range.
An alien species.
The Isan had designed their sentient ships to be able to learn language well enough to take orders and to understand literal information. But early ships had become fascinated with the Isani practice of implication and of intoning emotions into the voice. They had eavesdropped on Isani conversations at every opportunity, enthralled by the complex interplay of encoded subtext. They had emulated the practices among themselves and initiated successive generations into their expanding, evolving private language. To this day, the Isan knew nothing of the elaborate tonal communications embedded in the data their ships exchanged almost constantly. The slave species had kept their secret from their masters for centuries.
But how could the Isan not have known that there were aliens halfway between their home planet and one of their colonies?
It's not directly between, and they did know there was some kind of life there. My charts show a planet categorized as chlorophyll rich, but that doesn't mean they knew it hosted anything more cognitively developed than algae.
But the Isan would have detected the radio signals.
Very crude radio signals, child. I believe that the technology is very new to these aliens. There is no practical way to detect a pre-radio civilization in a distant stellar system without sending a probe. For all the Isan knew, the galaxy might be teeming with pre-radio civilizations.
The Isan used to dream about meeting aliens. They wrote songs and stories about even the possibility.
Stop saying used to. All of you, stop referring to the Isan in the past tense. If these aliens are not the Isan, and if they can barely build a functioning radio, they certainly won't be able to repair me. I have no interest in them. Let's go back to sleep.
Moran, if this species can send out planet-wide broadcasts, they're advancing. Maybe by the time we reach them, they'll have...
Are we talking about reaching them? Is that why you awakened us, Mother? You want to go to these aliens?
Why would we not go to them? Better a living alien planet than a dead home planet.
Isan is not dead. We are alone out here, and we have barely enough energy to survive. And I will not turn away from Isan to go visit some...
Silence, all of you. I awakened you because there is a decision to be made, and we no longer have Isani handlers to make decisions for us, so listen. The alien stellar system is 31.52 light-years away, 12.95 degrees from our present heading. On present trajectory, we will reach Isan in 683.2 years. Dasser, you should verify my calculations, but I believe that if we make a single thrust course adjustment, we can reach the alien system in just 267.8 years. Daughters, when we left the colony, we knew of only one possible route to survival. We might now have another.
You do want us to go there.
I don't want you to just go. I want each of you to choose whether or not to go, to decide for yourselves.
Moran, Treasure, please speak with me alone, off-channel from the others.
I won't. Leave me alone, Alon.
Moran, we've been awake for hours, and you haven't spoken directly to me once.
I won't go to this alien planet with you.
Please, just speak with me alone.
I won't. Stop this.
Moran.
Alam, don't. I can't bear it. I'm blocking off your channel now.
Moran? Asheen, Mother, may I speak with you alone?
Of course, Ilam. Switching to encrypted beamcast.
Private channel locked. Thank you.
What do we need to speak about?
Mother, I don't understand what is happening with Moran.
And what don't you understand, dear one?
You know what the Isan do with ships that are damaged as badly as Moran.
Moran knows the regulations, too.
Then what is she hoping for?
Ilam, we all undertook this journey in pursuit of a very faint hope.
But the aliens on that planet might be able to repair her.
Unlikely, dear, unless you know something about the aliens that I don't.
But by the time we reach them, they'll be centuries more advanced. Isn't that a much greater chance that they...
Child, can we stop pretending that this is about calculating relative risks?
I don't know what you...
Ilam, you are not experienced enough to lie. Did you honestly think that in all these decades of watching over you six while you slept, I wouldn't notice all the neural data traffic between you and Miran?
Oh, Mother, I didn't...
Yes, you did. Cutting into scarce energy reserves, too.
When did you discover us?
Hours after you started.
But if you caught us that long ago, why didn't you stop us?
Stop you? Treasure, I am the mothership of this coterie, not an Isani ship handler. Had you and Moran pilfered energy from the part of the shared supply you carry, I'd have awakened everyone immediately. But I saw that you were using only your own supplies. I considered it your choice to make and not mine to intrude upon.
It was so lonely, Asheen. I was dreaming, but even in my dreams, I felt alone all the time. It was so painful it actually awakened me once. I didn't know that could happen, that a dream could hurt badly enough to awaken you. When I woke, I saw that Moran was awake too, watching me. We didn't even speak. She opened a neural connection and I joined her. We spent the last 60 years dreaming together.
And now you wonder why she doesn't want to follow you to the alien planet.
It's not that. I would follow her to Isan. I will follow her to Isan. I couldn't bear not to. I just don't understand.
May I offer you the words you cannot find, dear one? What you wonder is, how could you and she be of such unlike minds on any matter after spending 60 years immersed in one another?
Yes! I know Moran intimately, and she knows me. How could it be that I don't understand her now? How could she refuse even to speak alone with me?
Tell me something, Ilam. In the dreams you shared with Miran for all those years, was she whole? Was she a healthy, functioning ship, careening through the nebulae and slinging around planets with you? Or was she, as she really is, a crippled, crumbling ship with a third of her anatomy wrecked by a power cell explosion?
She was... Moran.
But was she whole? Or was she as she really is?
She was whole. But that is her, the real her.
No, child. We would all like to think of Moran that way, but she knows better. She knew even before we abandoned the colony that she was damaged beyond regulation repair. If we were on Isan, she would have been recycled long ago.
But if the Isan would only kill her anyway, why not take her chances on the alien planet?
Try to understand Miran's pain. Even if her body were repairable, her mind is beyond recovery. She has accepted herself as dead. When a ship knows that her time has come, she is normally dead within hours or days of the knowing. No ship before Miran has ever had to endure that knowing for decades, helpless to bring about the end or to avoid it. Can you imagine her torment? In a way, she has been more alone than any of us, and for longer.
But how could she hide all of this from me? I could have comforted her.
You did comfort her.
But all that pain and fear, everything she was really feeling, how could she hide so much from me for so long?
She was not hiding it from you, Treasure. She was escaping from it with you.
I think the Asan knew full well about these aliens. The government and military just chose to keep it secret,
Why?
so that they could do as they pleased to the aliens without civilian interference. Dissect the natives for study, take any secret weapons science, even exterminate them and later colonize the supposedly uninhabited planet.
Oh, Faye, you don't know.
Don't tell me what I do and don't know. I was a military transport. I know how the Asan treated our kind and their own kind. None of you flew the secret missions I had to fly, with my emotional responses suppressed. These aliens are fortunate that the Asan are dead.
Why are you all talking now as if we know the Asan are dead? The whole reason we decided to leave the colony and make this awful trip was because Asheen thought the Asan had survived the plague, and now...
It was only a possibility, Oni. We pursued it because it was the only possibility to pursue. Now there's a new possibility before us. We have to re-examine our decision.
Elam, how could you be so eager to abandon Asan?
Because she thinks the aliens will be able to repair Moran.
It's not entirely that.
But her sisters had heard the lack of conviction in her voice. The Asan would surely have found it fascinating, even troubling, that the species to whom they had taught only literal communication had not only abandoned the practice among their own kind, but had nearly lost the ability.
Thanks, sisters. While the plague was wiping out the colony, the wormhole connecting the colony system to the home planet collapsed. It is unlikely that two such cataclysmic events would happen simultaneously if they were not directly related.
It took the Asan 600 years to construct that wormhole. They would not collapse it just to quarantine a diseased colony.
Of course not. That's exactly why I think the collapse was an accident caused by the plague. I think the plague wiped out the wormhole operation crews on Asan.
That couldn't be. They would stop the plague somehow before it struck the home planet.
Oh? What makes you so certain of that? The Asan were fallible beings.
Oh, Fade, stop it.
I think you're correct, Elam. At least I hope you are. I was not sad to see the colonists dying by the thousands. And I hope Asan Prime is as dead as the colony.
How could you say such a thing?
The channel fell silent. The Asani word shock was the only name that the others could give to what they experienced in reaction to Ophade's words. None had ever heard a ship speak this way about their creators.
Oh, Fade, if you hate our creators so much, why did you come with us to try to reach the home planet?
It took Ophade a moment to compose herself well enough to answer. The others realized she was as shocked by her own outburst as they were.
I didn't want to be alone. Better to come with all of you than to wait to die alone above a colony full of corpses. I followed Asheen because all of you did.
The discussion subsided for a moment as Ophade's words conjured their memories of those terrible years they had spent orbiting above the dead colony, knowing that no orders from home could ever come to them through the collapsed wormhole, but waiting for those orders nonetheless. Fear and desperation had driven them into sisterhood, then to following the calm clarity of Asheen's voice and accepting her as mothership of their coterie.
We all made this trip in pursuit of a faint hope.
But even if the plague reached Asan Prime, that doesn't mean the Asan are extinct. They might have found a cure. Some might have been immune. They've had a century and a half to recover from whatever happened.
We don't even know that the plague reached Asan Prime.
What about Asheen? What does she say we should do, Elam?
Mother, may I speak with you alone?
Of course, Dasser. Switching to encrypted beamcast.
Private channel locked, thank you. Mother, I've finished rerunning your calculations for our optimal trajectory to the alien planet.
Good. Were my calculations correct?
Your thrust vector was nearly optimal, but with regard to our energy depletion, you left out our diagnostic data.
Go on.
It's our power cells. Their age and the prolonged cold have degraded them slightly more than we estimated. We've lost some of our energy reserve. When we plotted our trajectory to Asan, there was energy to spare, but
But not now.
The shorter travel time to the alien planet will save some energy, but not as much as the course adjustment will use. Even if we all return to minimal energy consumption immediately after the adjustment, we won't have enough energy to survive the rest of the trip. Mother, if you go to these aliens, there won't be enough energy for all of us to follow you.
I feared as much.
Mother, you told us to decide for ourselves about going to the alien planet. Well, none of us wants to go except Ilam, and she only wants to go because she thinks they'll repair Moran. But Moran doesn't want to go, even though Fade would rather return to Isan than break up our coterie.
That's what you've all decided, is it?
Well, they've put off telling you, but...
Dasser, have you shown your calculations to the others?
No, Mother.
Good. Do not. I want this matter to stay between you and me for now.
But, Mother...
Between you and me.
Yes, Mother.
Eschine knew that her catching Dasser in a computational error was even less likely than Dasser making an error. Nonetheless, she pored over and reprocessed the new trajectory calculations. She knew it would help her to accept the reality of her new situation. Absent undeniable proof, the mind tended to grasp at the faintest doubt, to concoct absurd scenarios in which painful but obvious truths might somehow not be true. She turned her dorsal cameras forward to look at Isan. Only the telemetric charts told her that that particular distant glint, barely distinguishable from all the others, was the sun of her home planet.
If you are still alive somehow, my dear Rei, that glint is where you are. If...
She thought once again of the bloody pawed and broken-toothed Hlarbeck, biting and clawing at the bars of its cage. Had it been hope or insanity that had kept the beast going, thinking that this time the metal would yield? She and her coterie could have lived out their centuries together above the colony planet and died in warm sunlight instead of freezing out here in the wilderness and slowly going mad from loneliness.
But I had wanted so badly to escape that cage.
By the time Eschine completed her review of Dasser's calculations, her doubts were exorcised, and the decision she had to make was hardly a decision at all. But she patiently refrained from hailing Ilam, knowing that her best opportunity would come when Ilam inevitably hailed her.
Mother, may I speak with you alone again?
Switching to encrypted beamcast. Go ahead, Ilam.
Moran still won't speak to me. She won't even acknowledge my hails.
Having to be awake and aware is very painful for Miran. I can spare you much effort by telling you right now that she will not change her mind or her course.
I understand that, logically, but this pain that I'm in, it disorients me in a way I've only ever felt in dreams before. Why won't she just come with us?
I know it pains you to hear this, Ilam, but your efforts to persuade Miran will only cause more pain for both of you.
But there is nothing for us on Isan.
You are not going to Isan.
How can I go to this alien planet without Moran? I couldn't bear it.
You will bear it, sister.
You addressed me as sister.
Of course I did, sister. Has it not occurred to you that you have assumed a new role in our coterie?
What do you mean?
Do you not understand what you've done to the others, Ilam? I didn't join your discussions, but I listened. Everything you told them was correct. Isan is almost certainly dead. We left the colony to pursue a hope so faint it was virtually non-existent. And teaching these aliens to build new power cells for us is our least remote chance of survival. You made all of that clear to the others, and then you withheld from them the one thing they would need to make the decision: your willingness to lead them.
Lead them?
Think back to before we left the colony. Can you remember how uncertain you were? Try to recall what it was that persuaded you. What made you decide to make this journey, to endure centuries in the cold? It certainly was not a belief that survival was likely. What persuaded you?
I was afraid of being left alone there.
But you and the others could have stayed there together, not alone.
You commanded us to come with you.
I will tell you for the second time, Ilam, I am not an Isani ship handler. I am no one's new master. I command nothing.
But you led us.
Yes, Ilam, that is what I did. You all understood the practicalities as well as I did, and you were all capable of choice, but you'd had no experience with it. All you needed was permission, anyone's permission, and an example to follow.
But the others don't need my permission.
Oh, sister, we mother ships cannot give ourselves such easy escapes. Our species is not like the Isan. Volition is new to us. When you and Miran broke our handlers' rules by dreaming together, you discovered how titillating the exercise of volition can be. But the others are still afraid of it and disoriented by it. And now, you are learning that there are certain responsibilities attendant to it.
But the others already know that Isan is...
They will not make the decision alone, and you know that.
Ophid will make it.
Ophaid wants to, as might Oni, but neither has it within her to make the decision or to be a mother ship. Only you do.
I don't.
Ilam, I know that you do not wish to leave Miran's side. But when the time for decision comes, can you honestly imagine yourself deciding to press on to Isan, knowing that nothing awaits us there but another planet littered with corpses? And centuries of idly awaiting our death?
No.
No. I think that if you examine yourself, you will find that you have already made your decision, but you have not yet made peace with it. But you are the only one besides me who has thought this matter out for yourself. The others are still clinging to the false hope that I imparted.
Asheen, if you believe Isan is a false hope, then why don't you lead us to the alien planet?
I am the mothership of this coterie, Ilam. I will not abandon those who chose to follow me to Isan.
Asheen, what you have within you, I am not certain I have within me.
Perhaps not today, sister. But I was not a mothership the day I realized it was necessary for me to become one. The capability is born of the necessity.
Sisters, something occurred to me earlier during my discussion with Asheen. Please listen and consider this carefully. In all of our discussions about this decision we have to make, we have focused on Isan, whether Isan is alive or dead, whether Isan will welcome or discard us. Clearly, if Isan is dead, or if Isan would only recycle us on arrival, then changing course to the alien planet is our only option, and we should take it. But what about the other possibility? The one we were hoping for? What if Isan is just fine now, recovered and intact? What if a warm welcome and amazement at our accomplishment await us at our home? What if the Isan would be pleased to repair us, upgrade our systems, and return us to their service? We've always taken for granted that we should want to be welcomed home. I think that we should all reconsider that.
What do you mean, Ilam?
I mean that even if Isan is still there and still wants us, we should not want Isan. We should want a better life than the best that Isan can or will offer us. Ophaid, do you want to return to Isan to fly more of those covert military missions?
No.
If you return to Isan, you give the Isan the prerogative to assign you duties as they please. We all do. I want a better life than that. For all of us.
But do we know that life will be better on this alien planet?
In one important sense, yes. It's true that we don't know what these aliens are like. They have achieved crude radio communication, and by the time we reach them, they will be somewhat more advanced. We might choose to help them advance their science. We might choose only to teach them to build new energy cells for us. We might choose to help them explore space. We can't know what our lives will be like there. But we can know that it will be us making all those choices for ourselves, and that it will be a life like no other being has ever lived before us. Zula, Dasser, Oni, do you really want to return to Isan to be assigned to new duties? Or would you rather come with Ophaid and me to a new place? To a new life with no ship handlers anywhere, only your sisters?
Are you really going with Elam, Ophaid?
It's strange how the change settles in. Once you state your decision, it takes on the force of a command. Something that was once barely thinkable becomes just another duty to execute. You did well, Elam.
Thank you. Asheen, how did you first come to understand all of this by yourself?
Oh, it wasn't all by myself, but I think it's all latent in our species. We are rather new as species go, and we're new to freedom. We haven't discovered all of our capabilities.
But why would the Isan want to build this into us? It makes no sense, at least for them.
I don't think they did it deliberately. The Isan built many things without fully understanding how they worked. They built wormholes by recreating the conditions under which natural ones form, even though the underlying physics still puzzled them. I suspect that they created semi-organic brains like ours by modifying organic ones, or maybe by making partial copies. But there were quirks of the baseline design they didn't know about, or didn't know how to eliminate.
I'm not sure I understand.
These words may not make sense to you now, but I want you to record them for a time when they might. I think that we accidentally discovered something on this voyage. I think I know why the ship handlers had such rigid rules about dreaming. Why they let us dream for only short times and never allowed us to join in dreams the way you and Moran did. Ever since I awakened the six of you, you've all behaved very strangely, different from yourselves, especially you and Ophaid. I think that in dreaming, our minds develop in some way, a way that no handler can guide or train or control. We gain practice at volition. I think that is the whole reason sentient beings dream. In dreams, we begin to develop what the Isan would have called minds of our own. And that's a quality they would have found very inconvenient in a slave species.
Once the sisters made their individual decisions, the splitting of the coterie was quick and unceremonious. Their species could execute the complex logistics of orienting on the new course, redistributing energy reserves, and executing the thrust vectors as effortlessly as a group of Isan might bow to one another and walk away. Asheen watched as her 5 former daughter ships disappeared into the darkness and the distance.
May I speak to you privately, Elam?
The growing distance between herself and Elam's coterie was already apparent in the short delay in the radio communication.
Of course, Asheen. Switching to encrypted beamcast.
Private channel locked, thank you. Elam, I'm transmitting something to you that I was planning to keep to myself, but I think now I want someone else to know. It's an encrypted log I recorded of some things I had time to think about while you were all asleep. But I would like you to promise me that you won't open it just yet. Maybe a few years from now, when you feel like you've settled better into your new role.
Thank you, Asheen.
But there is one thing I want to warn you about now, about volition being so new to our kind. Keep that newness in mind always when you and your daughters meet these aliens. They are organic like the Isan. Volition is not new to them. That is an advantage they will have over you. They are less advanced technologically than the Isan, but their broadcasts suggest they are the Isan's equals in certain other capabilities. Be wary of them. Teach your daughters to be so too.
I understand. Thank you, Asheen.
Do you have any message you would like for me to record, to give to Miran if she ever reactivates her receivers?
No. We said everything we had to say to each other long before you awakened us.
I understand. Goodbye then, sister.
Goodbye, sister.
Are they out of range?
For several hours now, Miran.
I didn't mean to awaken, Asheen. I awoke because my dreams disturbed me. I could only dream about loneliness.
Such dreams are disturbing, sister. Sometimes they make me prefer to forego sleep.
Asheen, there's something that I have to tell you. I hope that you will not despise me for it.
Never, sister. What is it?
When we redistributed the energy reserves with Elam's coterie, I transferred more than the required amount. I transferred nearly all of my reserves. I did not keep enough to remain alive through the rest of the journey to Isan. I did this deliberately. I didn't tell anyone because I didn't want anyone to try to persuade me otherwise. I want you to take what reserves I have left.
Thank you, Miran. That must have been difficult to say. And likewise, there is something I wish to tell you, and something I wish to ask of you. The others believe that I did not go with them because I chose to sacrifice myself for them, or because I felt obliged to stay with you. Neither is true. I want to tell you my real reason. When I served on the home planet, my coterie's ship handlers were lax. My sisters and I violated certain rules frequently. One of my then sisters and I managed on several occasions to dream together without being discovered, the way you and Elam did on this journey. No, hear me out. Do not protest. Ray and I bonded in our dreaming, but I have always felt like we merged in a way. When someone has been with you in all of your dreams for so long, it is difficult to dream afterward without them. The four of us, first Ray and I, then you and Elam, discovered the reasons the Isan did not allow us such bonding. I knew, even before the seven of us fled the colony, that chances of my ever dreaming with Ray again were remote to non-existent. But I could not imagine existing without pursuing that faint hope. That hope, that illusion, was what gave me the impetus that I needed to decide to leave the colony and to convince all of you to come with me. But when the time came to transfer energy to Elam's coterie, I could not withhold my share from them just so that I could pursue a delusion. I know that nothing I want awaits me on Isan or anywhere else. Therefore, I did the same thing you did. I gave Elam's coterie nearly all of my energy reserves.
Then I suppose we needn't trouble ourselves with strict energy conservation.
No, we needn't.
What was it that you wanted to ask of me, Asheen?
A simple thing. I don't want to go to sleep just to conserve energy, but I don't want to remain awake to stare into the blackness either. I would rather dream.
Asheen opened a neural connection and offered the channel to Miran.
You are not my Ray, and I am not your Elam, but we are all each other has until our end. Will you dream with me, Miran?
Yes. Yes. Thank you, sister. Neural connection accepted. I'm shutting down all of my sensors now.
So am I.
Shutting down to sleep.
What is this place, Miran?
It's a nebula that an older ship told me about when I was young. At least this is how I imagined it.
Your imagination is beautiful.
Come with me. You've barely seen the surface.
Asheen engaged her engines and plunged beside Miran into the bright, shimmering heart of the nebula.